Okay, everyone, here goes Fusion of Blender Part 3. And I have this part with a circular hole at the top and a square hole at the bottom. And we're just going to go ahead and get into this. Okay, so I'm going to start with my default scene in Blender. I'm going to select everything and I'm going to delete it. And then I'm going to start by using Shift A to add a cylindrical mesh. Okay, and I'll go here to select cylinder. And remember that when you add meshes, you'll have this little menu come down here in the bottom where you can set different options. I'm just going to go ahead and rotate it 90 degrees around the Z. And then I'm going to turn the cap fill off. I want nothing there. And then I'm not going to want UVs. UVs are used for texturing, and I'll get into that hopefully in a later video. Okay, and then I'll change my radius to 10, and then I'll change my depth to 10. So then now when I pull back, I should have a circular view like this. And then let's just pop back and look at this real quick. So that's going to be 20 here. So the radius here is 10. Okay. Now the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go into edit. Oh, and then actually with this still down here, when I actually click out of it, then all of my changes have kind of set. So now I'm going to tab to go into edit mode, and then I'm going to press 2 to go to edge select mode, and then I'm going to hold alt, and I'm going to select this edge ring right here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold Shift S to go to cursor to select it, and that's going to move my 3D cursor to this point right here. This is kind of with the options that we showed in the last one. Then I'm going to tab and go back out to edit mode. I'm going to object with this selected, object, set origin to 3D cursor, and that's going to move my object origin here, that little orange dot. So now while still in object mode, I'm going to select this, press Alt G to clear the location, and what that's going to do is that's just going to get these line of vertices centered with my world origin here. Okay, so there's a couple different ways that we can do this, but one of the things that I'm going to do, the first way to draw this, I think there'll be about 3 or 4 different ways I'm going to draw this to where you I'm going to tab and I'm going to go to edit mode and I'm going to select all these faces. Now, when you're doing extrudes, since faces are made up of edges and edges are made up of points, it really doesn't matter when you're in edge, face, or line mode. It kind of matters, but not really. I'm going to hit the extrude key, and then that would normally extrude like this. But one of the things about the extrude is that when you cancel the extrude, right clicking, it still has everything selected. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to scale, but I'm also going to go up here and I'm going to set the transform pivot point to the 3D cursor because it's at the center here. So I'm going to do scale, and that's going to move all those sizes out there. So you'll see how it kind of tapers a little bit. So what I want to do is I'm going to press Shift Y so it doesn't scale in the Y. And then we go it out there. And then I'm going to press 2 so that way it scales by a scale of 2, and then there we have our part like this, our little donut right here. Now if we just, I'll keep on going back to the other image a little bit more than I have in the past here. So we have so I have my 10 here and I have my 20 out here, and that's pretty much should go right to the bottom. So what I want to do is I'm going to use a technique to kind of flatten all of these vertices. So I'm going to go to Alt Z, so that way I am in X-ray mode, and I'm still in edit mode. I'm going to go to vertices, and then I'm going to go to my front view. And then essentially what I'm going to do is I'm going to select these vertices right here. Now what's interesting about X-ray mode is that I have these two vertices selected. If I go back to my front view, I press Alt Z to turn X-ray mode off, it's going to just select that vertex. Now for what I'm going to do here, this isn't going to matter too much, so I'll keep it right here. So I'll just say Shift S, cursor to select it. Then it just moves my 3D cursor to that guy, and then I can control right, oh no, control right click extrude. I didn't want to do that. Control Z. Shift right click extrudes. There we go. I mean shift right click moves the 3D cursor. So if I go back to Alt Z on my front view, just make sure my vertices aren't doubled. Okay. Remove 0 vertices. Okay, I'm cool. All right, so I'm going to go back to my Alt Z. I'll drag the box here. Now if I press Shift S, cursor selected, puts it in the middle there. Now this isn't going to matter that much, but now I'm going to go here. I'm going to look at this, and then I'm just going to go ahead and circle select all of these. And then my transform pivot point is still set to my 3D cursor. So then I'm going to scale them, and then we'll normally scale like that, but I'm going to scale them in the Z direction, moving them up, down like this. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to press 0. And then when I press 0, scales them all flat. Okay. So then what I can do is, because I was kind of thinking about how my vertices were going to distribute here, I just have these on the edge here, but I can just go ahead and grab these two, Granted, I'm still in X-ray mode, so I'm going to select both of those. Then I go to my properties window, and then I want that to be 20. So I'll move those over just a little bit. All right, and then I'll do the same thing on this side as well. I'll grab this, and I'll make that -20. Okay, so now I have that guy. That's all pretty well laid out. I'll get out of X-ray mode. Now what I'll need to do is I'll need to bring these down another 10. So I'm going to zoom out a little bit. I'm going to change to face select mode. See the circle select mode. I'm going to select all these on the bottom right here. Got that. Right click to get out of it. Oh, and actually that's why you got to be careful because I have those backward stuff. So I'll just Alt A to select that. There we go. Let's see. Cool. All right, let's see what we got here. Okay, that looks good. Then I'm going to extrude, and then I want to go down 10. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is, now what's interesting is that when we look at this from the front view, I'm going to turn my X-ray on. Actually, I'll just turn points on. So again, I want that hole to be 10 in the middle here. So if you'll see where all of these are going to line up at, I'll see that to be about 10, but I'll slide those in a minute. But you'll see how I have this is at 11.11, and then this one should be at -11.11. So I could do this right now. I could do what I'm going to do right now, but I'm going to go ahead and extrude it first, and then I'll do it again. So go back to face select mode. I'll press C. I will select all of these. Make sure I didn't get anything else. Okay. And then if I go back to this guy, I want to bring that out from this edge. I want to bring that out 30 because it already has a 10 thickness right there. Okay. So I'll go back to this, and then I'll say extrude, and then I'll do 30. Boom. Okay, now this is now what I also need to do is I need to put in a hole right here. So I could, it probably would have been more smarter for me to do this the last time, but I'll just go and do it now, Alt Z. So I'm going to select this group of vertices. No, that's 14, that's not the one I want. I'm going to select this group of vertices 11 by 11. You can see everything that I'm setting there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to change that to 10. Okay, and I'll go back to my front view, and then I'll select this group of vertices, and then I'll change that to -10. All right. Okay, so why did I do that? Because now that I have this extruded out to 30, and when you're trying to get exact dimensions in Blender, really I try to take advantage of proportionality and things like that. When working in Fusion, you can kind of just set your dimensions, but you have to be a little bit more thoughtful with it. Let's go to edge mode for this. I'm going to use Control R to insert an edge loop. And so when you do the edge loop, you can do the mouse wheel, and then it'll show you how many you want to put. I want to put 2. And then when you click once, you can move left to right to kind of slide it. But if I right click, it puts it right in the center. So since this was 30 units long, I put in two two edge cut lines equally spaced. That means this is at 10 and 10. And if I even go to my top view, I press 1. Look at that. That's a 20 in the X, -20 in the Y. And then if I select this one, oops, vertex point. There we go. The Y is -20. And then here, what's our vertex here? -20. Okay. Oh, local coordinates. That's why it's doing it. Okay, cool. There we go. I was like, why is that showing what it's showing? There we go. Yeah, see, so global and local. I was clicking the numbers and I was like, why is the Y not changing? We'll talk about global and local later, but there we go. Okay, yeah. So that's -10. That's 20. Okay, there we go. Cool. So now if I go here and I'll go to face select mode and I'll go Alt Z just for that. Now let me actually check where these are. That's my 10 and that's my 10. So if I go into face select mode and I'll just circle select all of these guys, and then since I was X-ray, I got both of them. I'll press X, delete faces, Alt Z, and I can. I'll go to edge select mode. Control Alt left click to select that edge, and I'm going to hold Shift because I'm doing Groden. So Alt Shift plus this down here selects those edges. So I have these selected. We can look at that in X-ray mode, and then I will do Control E, and then I'll say Bridge Edge Loops. And there we go. And then that's going to create the edge loops to join that. So managing your vertex counts is really important when you're talking about how joining stuff is. Because if you're judicious about how you create that, you can do stuff like, since I know, that's why I was trying to be so careful about how I laid out these vertices and everything. So there we go. So then there's your part, right? Dimensionally set. Okay, so now one of the things that's interesting is that when we're drawing and stuff in Blender and we want to build stuff, we kind of have to think about what we're kind of going for here. So in just kind of looking at how these vertices are distributed, and it's not exactly the prettiest thing. And when we talked about UVs when it made the cylinder earlier, sometimes these can affect how your texture mappings will go. So I'm going to do this a slightly different way to kind of go ahead and distribute these vertices a little differently. So we'll just go with that. Let me just go ahead and save this file, save as, and we'll go to desktop, and then we'll say part 03-1. Nope, part 03-1. 03-1. All right, and we'll save you. Cool. Save your work. Okay. Now let's do another one. Control N, new. There we go. Okay. So empty, empty scene again. I'm gonna pretty much do what I did last time. X, delete. I'm gonna do Shift A, insert a cylindrical mesh. There we go. Let me go down here. I'm just going to rotate it. I just like rotating it 90 on X, so that way when I go to my front shortcut view, it just looks at it straight up. So I can say radius is going to be 10, depth is going to be 10, no cap fill, and no UVs. Okay, cool. All right, so and then yeah, so I'll go ahead and tab to this, edge select, alt select this edge, shift S, cursor to select it, tab out, object, set origin to 3D cursor. There we go. Select this guy, alt G to clear it. Again, just putting my origin right there on the center. Okay, and then I'm going to tab it at this guy, select everything. I'm going to extrude, which basically creates duplicate faces. Let me go ahead and set my pivot point to the 3D cursor. Then I'll scale. I want to scale by a factor of 2, and I want to shift Y because I want it to lock. Okay, cool. All right. So now what I'd actually like to do this time is to kind of keep it, is just to kind of radiate these out. So to do that, actually, you know what? I am going to go to Alt Z, and I'm actually just going to work with just a flat face just to make this a little bit easier, because I'll extrude this later. So I'll go to my side right here, and then what I'll do is I will delete this guy, delete the vertices. There we go. Boom. All right, so now I just got that face right here. All right, so if we look at this straight on, basically, and I look at these points, we have our, like, I want to grab our 45-degree point. So pretty much I want to extrude this point to here. So I'm going to grab this point, and I'm going to make this, I'll keep it global and local. Oh, because I rotated it. That's why when I rotated it in the beginning, that's why my global and local coordinates are different. That's why the change was there. Okay. So anyway, but I'll keep it in global for right now. All right, so I'll say 20 going there, and then I'll say 20 go. Oops, nope, that's wrong. Control Z. I want to do 20 in the Z. There we go, negative 20. There we go. Okay, and then I'm going to go to this one. And I'm going to do the same thing here. Negative 20 in the Y, and then negative 20 in the Z. Again, like when you say like the global local coordinates, since I kind of rotated it, that's why it's reading that in the Y. And then also, this is also interesting because it does like the 0.001 because of how it adjusts the math, but we can deal with that later. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I am going to I'm going to keep my pivot point at the 3D cursor. Is it? Yep, it's at the 3D cursor. And then what I'm going to do is I am going to select, I'm going to select all these I'm going to select a specific amount of vertices because I pretty much want to square these corners. Okay, there we go. Okay, and then I'm going to scale also, since they're, why am I getting, oh, okay. This is why you have to be careful working on that stuff, because sometimes stuff will kind of slide out. So let's see what I did here. Okay, cool. Oh, that's because I didn't change the, okay, so yeah, so this is where my the oh, this is really good. My transformation point is still my 3D cursor, so it scales everything out, but I want everything to stay planar. So what I can do is I can either set my 3D cursor to center, but I'll just change my my transform pivot to the medium point. I'm actually glad I caught that. That would have been embarrassing. Okay, so I'll do that, and then I'll pretty much do the same thing again. Go here, and then I'll go here. I actually don't want that one. Okay, cool. Now what's going to happen is that when I scale, now it's going to go out. Oh, me. Okay, actually, so it picked the median point of what I had selected. So that's actually not the median point that I want. So what I will do is I'm going to say, I think I'm gonna do Shift C. Yeah, Shift C is gonna pull my my 3D cursor back to the center, change my pivot point back to the 3D cursor. Then we'll scale out. Okay. And actually, that's a pretty good, just manipulating your pivot point and your transform orientation is a really, really important skill to learn in Blender. Okay, cool. So now that I have these points, so you can press F to fill in between points, edges or planes. So I'm gonna select those 2 points and press F. It's gonna put a line right there. I'm gonna select the points right here. I'm gonna put F. I'm gonna select these points right here, and then press F. So essentially, what I want to do is I want to drag these points to where they're coincident with that line. So if I go up here, we can go to snap target, and I'm going to go edge, and then you have this magnet thing that you can toggle off and on. I'm just going to turn it on so it goes by default. So what that means is now since my snap target is set to edge, I can grab a point, and this is why I extruded them out. If I select a point and if I press G and then G again, that does what's called an edge slide. Oops. There we go. GG. There we go. That does what calls an edge slide. And then if I drag it, you'll see that all of my points will snap back to that line. So I can go ahead and do my distributed stuff here without without having to do too much math to get it there. So I'll just kind of geometrically solve my issue here. So I can pull all these back. And then also with edge slide, it seems to work better if it like drags along the line. So it's like I drag these out, so that way I could kind of bring them back. Whereas if I tried to bring them out, it wouldn't it wouldn't follow as good. See, so it helps that it actually can follow the actual line. Edge slide that back, and then just go back to here. Go back to that. There we go. Okay, and then last one, and there we go. Oh, no, oops, that snapped up there. So we'll Control Z, back to there. Boom. All right. Now, the other thing that you have to worry about here is that I still have those lines on top of each other. So I'm going to go back to edge select mode, and then I'll turn into X-ray mode. And what that's going to let me do is that'll actually let me select those edges, and I can delete that. I'll delete edge, grab down here, I'll delete that edge, and then I'll delete that edge as well. So now if I select these, I just have those individual things there. Duplicated edges and vertices can cause a lot of problems when you're modeling. So now that I have this, went back in edit mode. All right, so now I'm here, Alt Z. I think, yeah, turn X-ray off. Is X-ray on? Doesn't matter. So I'll just go ahead and select. Oh no, I want to go to face select. Let's do that. 3. There we go. Face select mode. I'll just select everything. I guess I could have just pressed A. There we go. I will extrude that, bring that 10 that way. I'll bring it backwards just to make it -10. There we go. Alt Z, turn that off. And then I'll go here. Oops. Pull all these down. There we go. And then I'll extrude 10, negative, I guess because I sent it the other way. And then I could do the same. And actually I'll do it this time for just for checking on this. Vertex select. Check this point. That's at 13.366. 2843. Let's see. I'll move the 8 out. Yeah, so I'll just do that now. So I'll grab these and I'll move these to 10. Okay. Then I will grab these and I will move these to -10. Okay. All right. So then I'll go back out of X-ray, face select, circle select for the edges here. Make sure I don't have anything extraneous. There we go. Extrude 30. There we go. Okay, and then I can do my vertex cuts. There we go. And then I've already got that kind of lined up with there. I'll just face select, say X. We'll say delete faces. Sorry, I guess I'm fighting a cold today. And then I will delete faces here. And then we will select these edge loops, Control E, bridge edge loops. There it is. And then there you go. Okay, so with this one, yeah, a little bit cleaner mesh. If I wanted to, there's a couple different ways I could do this, but again, when we think about texturing and UVs, when we think about texturing and UVs, we want to lay out these the meshes as uniformly as possible. So there's a couple different ways I could do this, but for right now, I'll just go ahead and fix it right now, and I'll take advantage of the fact that I know what my dimensions are. So just to kind of really just clean it up a little bit more, we'll make this -10. Oh no, ooh, actually I want that to be, no, actually, oops, Control Z. So I want that to be, oh, -15, tripping. There we go, -15. And then we'll make that one -5. And then we'll make that one 5. I mean, I don't have to do this. It really just comes down to preference. And then we'll make this one 15. There we go. Right. Now, it's kind of up to personal preference, I guess, whether or not, because there might be a situation where you might want these to make sure that these are distributed with the lines. But one of the things I think about mesh topology is that you can kind of look at it and see what it looks like and see how it's clean to be dealt with and things like that. But yeah, so that's the second way of drawing it. All right, so I'll go here and I'll save as, and then I'll save as part 03 dash 2 dot blend, and then we'll save that. Okay, so now I'll control N to do a new one. General, there we go. All right, so one more way to deal with this. So I'll delete all of these, go back again. I'll shift add in my cylinder, my mesh cylinder. I'm going to, now actually, and I'll talk about this as well. So when I rotate my 90 here like I did before, because this is where that global and local coordinates set up. So this has its own internal kind of XYZ axis, and that's the local coordinates. So when I do that, I've technically rotated these points, right? So I'm going to take it back to that. Oh, well, and see, I left the end gun on this time, but that's fine because all I can do is I can just go in to here. And it created UVs too, but I'm not going to worry about those right now. I'll just delete the face. Well, yeah, the UVs will be fine. I'll delete those, but I'll just delete the face. Okay. So, because I'm not going to do anything with texturing, so it's fine if the UVs are there. They're not going to bug anything. All right, and then I'll just go back to 2, edge select that, shift edge, cursor to selected. There we go. Tab out, back to object mode, select it, object, set origin, origin to 3D cursor, and then we will Alt G to clear location. So, so what's interesting is that if I go into edit mode and I go into my vertexes here and I press N. So what I just want to specifically talk about here is that as I move this around, you'll see that it'll, in my local, it'll show my X and Y coordinates moving around. But if I change it to global, it'll show the X and Z because that's where it actually is. So what I can do is that if I want to, and when you turn it here, you'll see it'll say the rotation is applied X at 90, right? So that's when we flip between global and local coordinates. But just like I applied the location, what I can also do is I can apply the scale. So if I apply the scale, what happens when you apply the scale is it makes the current scale location 0. I mean, excuse me, apply rotation. Apply rotation. So make the current rotation 0. So when I say apply rotation, I will go that, and then my current rotation for the model is 0. So now when I go back into edit mode and I look at and I grab it, my global's this, but my local coordinates align as well. So that's what that is. Okay, so and yeah, I think I'm gonna go ahead and I'm going to, because I only need one face with this, so I'll just go to my right side, Alt Z, and well, actually no, let me do this first, because it's easy, because it's easier to do this with the extrusion. So I will extrude, cancel, scale, my pivot. Oop, oh no, there we go. So I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna change my pivot point to the 3D cursor. I'm going to scale, Shift Y, and then 2. There we go. I mean, I could do that. I like doing it with faces first. Feels like it's easier to see. Alt Z, vertex select mode. I'm gonna delete these edges. X vertices, kind of just keeping it on my coordinate system there. Okay, so now what I want to do is I'm going to bring these vertices essentially inside, or to a corner here. So I'm going to kind of pull these all to a corner and then model around that. So to kind of demonstrate that, I'll go at this first. I'll go at this first here. Let me grab this 14, 14 here. I'm gonna grab this vertex. I'm gonna move it to 10 here, and then I'm gonna move it to. Ooh, okay. I'm gonna move it to -10 here. There we go. And then I'm gonna grab that. No, not that one. Yeah, there we go. That's my, because it's the same one. I know that's the 45-degree vertex. -10, and then -10. Cool. So essentially what I'm going to do here is I just want to pull all of these vertices to that point. And actually, well, no, we'll do it this way first. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this point first, and then I'm going to select, I'll select all of these and hold shift while doing this. All right. And then I'll say M merge at first. So then all of them should pop in right there. So then I'll select this. I'll do this one. I'll do this one, and I'll say M again, merge at first, right? And then I have this one, and I have this one, and I'll say merge at first, right? Because essentially I just want to all pull them like this. And so now what I really need to do is just pull one more like this. So I'm going to go to vertex select mode. I'll do this, select my edge, Control E, and then I'm just going to subdivide it. And then what subdividing it once is just going to cut it. It's just going to cut it. So that way, if I go into vertex mode, it just puts a point right there. So I'll go back to this. I'll go back to edge mode, select this, Control E, subdivide. And then if I go to vertex mode, look at it first off. I have these guys, and then I can change the X to 20 and the Z to -10. I'll do the same thing here. I'll take my X to -20 and my Z to and my Z to -10. There we go. All right. And I think we're good. So also we can kind of gets a little tricky, but I want to make sure I do this right. You don't always have to extrude faces, you can extrude edges. So I'll grab these edges here. There we go. And then I'm going to extrude, and then we'll say Z to make sure I'm in the Z direction. I'll do 10, negative because I want it to go the other way. And then boom. So we got that. All right. And then I can, okay, so then I can just select everything. I'll extrude 10, just go that way, negative. And then I can pretty much grab these faces. And then I can say extrude 10, because of how I picked the faces, it wants to go the other direction. When the vertices, I'll select these, and then I will extrude them 30. Do that. Excuse me. Control R. There we go. And then now I have that, and then I can select this face, X faces, and I can select this face, X faces, and then I can go to edge select mode, alt click for here, alt click for ear, fill them. Oh, oops, no, Control Z. What did I screw up here? Oh, how did I screw up this? Oh, Control Z. There we go. All right. Oh, Control E. There we go. Control E. Bridge, edge, press wrong button. There we go. All right, and there we go. So with this one, it's kind of whenever you're working for this stuff, deciding how you want to kind of manage the vertices based on what you're trying to do here. So, if I wasn't worried about texturing and I really just wanted to like minimize the vertex count, kind of pulling those to a hard corner and then having less distribution, this might be better for a structural sense. Let me just go ahead and save this guy. Save as part 3.blend. Okay, there we go. Save as. But yeah, so those are kind of just different ways of approaching this. Hopefully you got something out of this, and I'll see you guys on the next one.